Today we are making Nutella filled and jelly filled and strawberry glazed donuts.
The very first thing you want to do is turn your oven on broil for about a minute, turn it off, turn on your oven light and leave it on. That's a good place to put the dough to rise. It's warm and draft free. If you don't want to do that, you could put it in your microwave or somewhere else that's warm and draft free in your house. Now I have 1 1/4 cups of whole milk that I warmed up. You want it to be about 115 degrees Fahrenheit, not warmer because you'll kill the yeast if it's too hot. And I took 1 teaspoon of sugar and dissolved it in there, and now I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of active dry yeast, and I'm just going to put that over the top, and I'm going to let that stand while I mix the rest of the ingredients. So I'm going to combine 1 egg, and I have here, originally I had 3 tablespoons of sugar, but I used 1 teaspoon in the milk mixture, so whatever was left of that 3 tablespoons of sugar, white granulated sugar, I'm going to put in here. And I have 4 tablespoons of vegetable shortening, butter flavored crisco that I melted. So I'm going to mix that up together. And now the yeast looks like it's bubbling, so I'm going to put that in here. I'm going to mix that. I'm going to mix it until it's all well combined. And now I'm just going to start adding, I have 3 1/2 cups of all-purpose white flour. I'm just going to start adding it a little bit at a time. And if you have a stand mixer, feel free to use it. I don't have one, so I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. Now I'm just going to keep incorporating the rest of the flour. Now with my final addition of the flour, I'm going to add 3/4 teaspoons of kosher salt. You never want to use iodized salt when you're using yeast. It interferes with the rising process. And I'm going to mix this in, and I'll show you the next step. So I incorporated all of the flour, and as you can see, the dough is still a little bit tacky, so I'm just going to take a little bit of flour, a tiny bit on my hand, and work it in until the dough stops sticking to my hand like this. So I ended up adding about a tablespoon of flour. It really depends on the humidity in the environment that you're in, but see how it doesn't really stick to my hand anymore. It's still a little bit sticky, but it's not sticking to my hand. I rinsed out the original bowl and I put about a teaspoon of vegetable oil in there. Now I'm going to put the dough back in there, and I'm going to flip it over so that the top is going to be greased with the oil as well as the bottom. And I'm going to cover it with a towel and put it in the oven for about 1 hour to 2 hours until it doubles in size. While the dough rises in the oven, I'm going to cook some strawberries for glaze. I have a pound of strawberries, fresh strawberries here, and I just covered the bottom of the pot with a little bit of water. It's probably less than 1/4 cup. And I'm going to cook this for half an hour, and then I'll show you what to do next. Now it's been about half an hour, and the strawberries are all cooked. I'm going to put them in a strainer, and I'm just going to push them through with a wooden spoon like that. And when I'm done doing that, I'm going to put them back in the pot, and I'm going to add some sugar, and I'll show you the next step. So this is what I'm left with at the end here. I don't really need this, so I have enough of this syrup puree kind of thing here. So I'm going to take this and put it in the pot with a 1/2 cup of sugar and cook it for 15 minutes. This is the dough after 40 minutes. I'm telling you, that oven trick really works. So I'm going to punch it down gently, and I'm going to put it out on a floured surface. And I realize now that when I was showing you that the dough wasn't sticking to my hand, I wasn't in the frame, so I apologize, but I hope you'll take my word for it. I'm just going to get a little flour on here. And form it into a ball. I'm going to cut it in half. I'll put this piece aside for now. Now what I have here, I have a cookie sheet that I lined with parchment paper that I cut up into individual squares, roughly larger than my donut cutter. I just realized that my brand new donut cutter hadn't been washed, so I washed it and I took off the sticker, and now I put it in some flour. Now, if you don't have one of these, you could use a mug or a glass or an empty can, and then you can use something smaller to cut out the circle. Now I'm going to roll out the dough to about 1/2 inch thickness, and I'll show you the next step. Now I'm just going to use my donut cutter to cut. That didn't work very well, did it? I'm going to place each one on an individual square. I'm hoping, I've never tried this before, but I'm hoping to use the paper to drop them into the oil so that they don't deflate. Because usually when you pick them up with a spatula, they tend to deflate a little bit. We'll see how it works. Now I'm going to cut out the rest, and then I'll show you the next step. So I finished cutting out those donuts. Now I'm going to make smaller, just round ones. I rolled out the second half of the dough that I had to about 1/2 inch. I'm not sure even. I don't know how that's going to turn out there. I hope okay. We'll see. So I'm going to cut these out, and then I'm going to cover them with a towel, and I'll put them back in the oven to rise again for about 1/2 hour. Okay, so the donuts have risen, and I'm heating a Dutch oven about half full of vegetable oil to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to gently pick up the donut with the spatula, very gently. And I'm going to hold on to the parchment paper, and hopefully the donut will slide off. Yes, it works. And I think I'm going to do one donut at a time. I don't want to overcrowd them. When it's golden on one side, I'm going to flip it over and do the other side, and then I'm going to take it out and put it on a paper towel lined plate to drain. Just want to show you what it looks like when I flipped it over. And then supposedly this little white line, if you can see it in the middle there, is a good thing. I have 1½ cups of powdered sugar here with 2 tablespoons of softened unsweetened butter, and this is our strawberry mixture that's cooked down. I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of this to the sugar and butter mixture, and I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla and mix it all up, and that's going to be our strawberry glaze. Now the glaze isn't very pourable, so I'm just going to take the donut and dip it in. It's still quite hot. And there you have it. So I've fried up the regular donuts that I'm going to fill with Nutella and strawberry jam. Those are our strawberry glazed donuts right there. The glaze is just so delicious, and the smell from the strawberries is amazing. Now I'm going to take these donuts, and I have some regular granulated sugar. While they're still warm, I'm going to roll them in the sugar so the sugar sticks to them, and then I'll show you the next step. So I got 13 pretty large donuts total. While the dough was rising, I also prepared the filling, so I put some Nutella in a disposable pastry bag with one of these tips on it. And I did the same with the strawberry jam. Now what you need to do is take the donut, and I have a wooden skewer here, and I'm going to poke a hole in it and kind of move around in there, make some space for the filling. And then you stick the tip in and you start squeezing. And you'll kind of feel when it fills up, and you'll also see it start to come out from the hole. The hole is pretty small, so it's a little tight. Okay, so I'm going to fill the rest, and then I'll show you the next step. So I didn't like the way that tip was working. It was a little too thin, so I replaced it with a bigger holed tip, and this is working much better. So here you have it. They're all done. The jelly donuts, I did the same way as I did the Nutella. I just piped the filling inside after sticking it with the skewer and making a little space inside. And I'm just going to break open an empty donut to show you the inside, because they're amazing. Now yes, they're a pain in the butt to make. It's a lot of work, but it's so worth it, guys. You cannot buy a donut like this. And if you can, let me know where, because I have never bought a donut like this in my life. They're just amazing. They're so soft and light and fluffy. Just beautiful. Cooked all the way through. I've tried other recipes where they stay raw inside. You cook them about 20 to 40 seconds per side, and make sure that your oil doesn't get too hot, because then they will burn and stay raw inside. But there you have it. I hope you enjoy.